Alright. Here is my audience.
Here we are.
4 people. Alright. There are many different diets that seem to make an appearance and then fade into the back of everyone's mind. A gluten-free diet is one that has seemed to hold its ground and has been gaining more and more attention. Everyone has their reason for going gluten-free. In my case, even if it weren't necessary for me to eat a gluten-free diet, I would still choose to because of the benefits that I gained from it. I have struggled with stomach aches and pain as far back as I can remember. Every time I ate gluten, I was sick to my stomach and was doubled over in pain. Can you imagine being 6 years old dealing with something like that? It definitely was frustrating, but I had no idea that it wasn't normal. As I got older, the stomach aches continued, but then I started to develop severe headaches. I had them every day, and I dreaded waking up in the morning for fear that I would have one yet again. I would also starve myself or eat the bare minimum for days because I couldn't handle the pain that was associated with eating. I was miserable and I didn't have a life. Gluten consumed my whole life and took me as its prisoner. At the time, I had no idea the cause of my burden. I just kept surviving by minimally eating and sleeping away my headaches. I had gone to the doctor multiple times and had millions of tests done. No one could solve my problem. I was finally blessed with an army doctor down in Colorado that knew a lot about eating gluten-free since she had celiac disease. She had the nurses draw lots of blood from my body, and it wasn't until about 3 weeks later that I finally went back for my results. She told me that I was allergic to gluten and that I should eliminate it from my diet immediately. I was confused and in shock. I didn't know how I was going to accomplish that, but she helped me understand what gluten was and what it is in. The most important thing to know when trying to keep a strict gluten-free diet is knowing what gluten is and what foods contain it. In one of my other speeches, I briefly explained it. Gluten is a protein found in wheat, barley, and rye. One of the main purposes of gluten is to keep the elasticity intact in foods during the fermentation phase of food production. It is a binding agent that is used in many things that you wouldn't think of, such as soy sauce, imitation crab, licorice, caramel coloring in sodas, and many other things. Now, it may seem like it's beneficial because it is needed to make many different foods, but it actually is something a lot of people are unable to digest. There are many health problems and added health risks that can be traced back to eating a diet consisting of products that contain gluten. There is one health problem in particular called celiac disease. It is rare, but very serious. A person with celiac will never be able to eat gluten again, and they must not cheat on their diet because there are long-term negative effects, such as infertility and cancer. Their stomach is not able to digest the gluten, and it will in turn attack the intestines every time it is ingested. It causes many digestive problems and can lead to deficiencies in iron and B12, as well as causing anemia and unintentional weight loss. There's also another person that is suggested to stay away from gluten. They are labeled as someone who has gluten sensitivity. There are many levels of gluten sensitivity. Each person feels the effects in a different way, ranging from stomach aches, migraines, and rashes. There are many health problems that can be positively affected by a gluten-free diet. ADD, diabetes, MS, bipolar disorder, celiac, gluten sensitivity, autism, and depression are all in this category. Eating gluten-free has also been known to help with sore joints, chronic headaches, stomach aches, acne, healthy weight loss for some, and many more. Being gluten-free can help with countless ailments that can so often plague people. 1 in 18 Americans have some sort of gluten intolerance. Most people will have subtle symptoms like having an upset stomach, feeling like they are having a sugar crush, slight restriction of breathing, and in many cases, people will ignore these symptoms or believe that it was just something that they ate, which is true, but not in the way that they are thinking. Cutting out gluten from your diet can lead to improved digestion, more focus, and a cleaner, healthier you, even if you do not have a gluten allergy. In order to cut gluten completely out of your diet, you must be prepared to read ingredients on almost anything you consume. One thing that has made this easier and is exciting for people that follow a gluten-free diet is the FDA passed a gluten-free labeling regulation on August 2nd, 2013. This is what everyone that eats gluten-free has been waiting for. The regulation will assure consumers that the products they are looking to purchase will be labeled as gluten-free. Products that are labeled gluten-free have to contain less than 20 parts per million under the FDA regulation. Manufacturers are required to start following the regulation as soon as possible. This will allow for new products to be available for people following this diet because the product will be clearly labeled gluten-free. Before this regulation, and about 10 years ago, the Food Allergen Labeling and Consumer Protection Act, or FALCPA, only required the top 8 allergens to be labeled. When looking at a product, there are a few things you should look at to determine whether you can eat it. You should be looking for whether it says gluten-free or not on the labeling package. Because the labeling isn't in full effect yet, you should look through the ingredients and at the bottom, where it states which allergens are in the product, to know if it is safe. A lot of times, a product should only be purchased if it is certified gluten-free. Finding something to eat has become more convenient because of stores that are supplying gluten-free foods, and also cell phone apps to help you find gluten-free friendly restaurants. When it comes to shaping a diet that has zero gluten in it, it can be time-consuming and range higher in cost. These downsides may weigh heavy on the decision-making of eating gluten-free. Having to spend some extra money in order to stay gluten-free may seem ridiculous, but as someone with gluten intolerance and having eaten gluten-free for almost 2 years, I can assure you that once you learn what to eat and what to avoid, you can spend just as much as someone on a normal diet. Some things that helped me when I first cut out gluten was that I went home and took everything that contained it and threw it away. Next, I replenished all my food with stuff that didn't contain it. I purchased meats, vegetables, fruit, and certified gluten-free foods. I cooked a lot of gluten-free pasta and only ate the stuff I had in my house. I was tempted to eat regular bread, but I stayed strict to my diet and I tried to avoid places that would make it more tempting, such as an Italian restaurant. Even if you don't have a gluten allergy, you may contemplate switching diets and spending more money to purchase gluten-free products in order to make you feel better. This is a great idea. You might be surprised yourself what it can do for you. It may just be a matter of being able to sleep soundly at night or having more energy during the day. Whatever it is for you, it just very well might be worth it. I hope that everyone thinking about gluten-free at least tries it to feel better. Since there's only one way to find out, you can follow my suggestions above to see how it makes you feel. I am very thankful to have found out the cause of my problems. I felt 10 times better since going gluten-free. Just like going gluten-free for me, you can see gluten-free diets have quick health benefits, but it can also help to cure some long-term disease symptoms, such as the symptoms associated with muscular dystrophy that develops as you age. Another person that I have seen the benefits with is my fiance's father. He has diabetes and has recently begun cutting gluten out of his diet and has seen a lot less fluctuations in his blood sugar levels. The fact that he hasn't even cut gluten completely out of his diet and he has already seen a substantial amount of improvement says a lot to me. Gluten in its true form is not as bad as the genetically modified type that is used in basically all American products. By genetically modifying anything that we consume, you add something unknown to the product, and many things aren't tested fully to see the long-term effects on the human body. Gluten, in its modified form, strips the intestines and the stomach of its protective lining, which can lead to ulcers, and if it goes untreated, the ulcer can lead to more serious problems. Overall, I hope you now can see the benefits of a gluten-free diet and will keep it in mind next time you eat it and how you feel afterwards. If you have noticed that it makes your stomach hurt or you feel sluggish, tired, or just not 100%, maybe going gluten-free can help you. Have you been debating going gluten-free for a while? Remember, you're not alone, and there are a lot of resources that can help you along the way. The only person who can make this happen is you. Thank you.